All right. So I hope everybody had a fantastic Thanksgiving. And I want to share with you some strategies that will help you be able to handle workplace conflict like a pro. Have you ever had a workplace conflict? Have you? And how did you handle it? I want to know some insights from you so I can be able to help you on your journey and provide you with some tips and strategies to keep in mind as you are navigating those situations. Now, if you are new to me, my name is Dr. Jacinta Lamantai. I am the CEO of Excite Excellence Incorporated, and I have over 20 years of experience to advance in their careers. So, the first strategy when you need to handle workplace conflict like a pro is to develop your executive presence. Your executive presence is what I would recommend as the number one thing you need to establish when you are managing workplace conflict like a pro, because your team needs to know exactly what to expect when you are going to meet with them. They need to have a good understanding of how this particular woman in leadership conducts herself when there is a challenge or if there's a situation or an issue that is coming up. The second strategy that will help you be able to handle workplace conflict like a pro is to observe and assess the situation. Oftentimes, we as individuals, when there's a crisis situation going on, we just think that this particular situation that is happening that is not positive happens all of the time. And when you are trying to handle workplace conflict like a pro, that is not the approach that you want to have. You want to be able to be very objective about the situation that is going on and determine, is this either one or two things? It will either be, this is a one-time occurrence, this never happens, I haven't seen it happen before, and so perhaps this is maybe an off day for someone or off day for an individual. The other scenario would be, this consistently happens or this has happened more than one time, and we probably need to address this issue. So keep in mind when you're trying to address workplace conflict like a pro. Okay, if you're following my page and following my channel, my goal is to help you elevate your skills. And so if you're handling workplace conflict like a pro, you definitely want to make sure that you are in a place where you're able to help people and determine, should is this something that happens all the time or not. Most of the time people don't do that. And so I just one want, before I go into my third strategy for handling workplace conflict like a pro for women in leadership, I want to say hello to those of you who are here. Hello, thank you so much for joining. I hope you all had a fantastic Thanksgiving. If you are here, if not, I hope you're having a fantastic day. Hello, hello, Geraldine. Nice to meet you virtually. So, my third strategy to handle workplace conflict like a pro will be to determine if you need to have this conversation now or if you need to have this conversation later. I want to know from those of you on the live today, have you ever dealt with workplace conflict at work? What happened? What did you do? I would be happy to have a dialogue and discussion with you about it, so that we can all learn together on how we can handle workplace conflict with ease as women in leadership. So, when you have that situation where you need to determine when you need to have that conversation, timing is critical. If things at the moment, excuse me, are busy, they're very hectic, it may not be the time for you to handle that workplace conflict. It may just add a heightened sense of just frustration to the individual that you're talking to as it relates to the conflict. So it may not be something that you want to do. You may have to wait until later that afternoon when things have settled down, or you may want to wait until the following day. It just really depends. You'll have to get a sense and have a good appreciation of your team to know more about them and what timing may work best. And I'll give you an example that I've dealt with over the past 20 years of me working in C-suite roles as a director and a manager and etc. So I had a workplace conflict take place, and I won't go into the specifics of it, but the particular team member where that was involved in the conflict tends to be a person that is very, 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 very emotional about anything that happens. And so, with that particular conflict that happened, it was something that was timely, that really needed to be addressed as soon as possible. So, what I did in that scenario was to one, I already had my executive presence set up, as I mentioned before, so they knew what to expect when I had a conversation with people. And then two, I was able to determine that this particular scenario that happened was not something that consistently occurs with this individual. It only happened this one time. And so I decided to have the conversation with this individual at the end of the day, not in the middle of the day, not right then and there. Because if you have a team member that is very emotional and they are already at a heightened state of awareness because let's say they made an error or they made a mistake, then if you pull them off to the side immediately after you notice the issue, as long as it's not detrimental to someone's life or going to impact operations in a very negative way in a matter of seconds, this person would have started to cry. They would have been really upset and they would have not been in the place to even receive the information or the guidance that I was given to them that is more on the positive side. They just would not have been in the mental space to do it. However, I waited until later in the afternoon when the busyness had settled and had a conversation. And I think another tip I would give to you when you're handling workplace conflict as a pro is to really treat people the way that you would want to be treated and have that conversation with them. Because oftentimes, when you are in that position of being the leader, being the manager, you're trying to talk to people and you can sometimes be in a place of authority because you are the authority as a woman in leadership, but then also you may project yourself as that. And so, one of the things that I do with the individuals I work with when I'm having that conversation and that has helped me to master workplace conflict like a pro is to ask them, how are you doing? I know today was a really busy and hectic day. So, I know we had an issue that happened at whatever time it was during the day. What happened with that scenario? And just be silent. Don't say anything else. Let them talk. That gives them the opportunity to share what's on their mind and be able to talk about whatever it is that they need to talk about. And so when you listen and actively listen to someone when they are talking about the conflict that happened, this gives you the opportunity to do my fourth strategy, which is to have that dialogue, have that conversation with them as it relates to handling workplace conflict like a pro. So when you are listening to them speak, listen really with empathy and understanding and appreciation of what they're sharing because they didn't have to, first of all, tell you what was on their mind. Okay. They could have just easily said, I'm fine. Nothing's fine. Everything's fine. It worked out fine. But the fact that they're actually discussing with you and having a dialogue with you about the situation puts you in a place where at least they trust that they can talk to you. And so that's something I would never take for granted from anyone. You always want to be respectful, even if someone did something completely incorrect and wrong, you still want to appreciate other people and treat them the way you want to be treated. And so when you're having that dialogue with them, listen to what's being said and observe what is not being said so that you can use the information that you're being given to guide the conversation. And so you may be wondering, well, how do you have to plan what you're going to say before you have a conversation like this? Not necessarily. You can have a structure in your mind of what you need to say, you need to address the issue, but what you can do is listen to what's being said, observe what's not being said, and go from there. So I'll give you a scenario, an example. So if I have someone that did something incorrect and we're having a conversation about it and they're telling me that, they just did not know that this was an issue. They were rushing, they were busy, they just didn't have the time to be able to address the issue. And so when that is said, what you can do is reply with the following. Well, I really appreciate you sharing that insight for me. I know today has been a very, very busy day, and oftentimes, oftentimes we'll get so busy that we just forget things and forget what we're going to do. So, what are some things that could have helped you to remember that this is a task that you needed to complete? Do you see what I just did? I gave them the opportunity to, one, acknowledge what they said, know that yes, today was busy or very, very hectic, but then ask them what do they think that could have helped them to remember, etc. And I found that this is a great opportunity to help, one, build a dialogue with someone, two, handle workplace conflict like a pro, and three, set you apart as a woman in leadership. There are a lot of women in leadership, and if you're following my page and you are on my YouTube channel or on LinkedIn, on Instagram, you know my goal is to elevate you and help you master elite communication skills, your executive presence, and your confidence. And so when you have a conversation like that, it truly sets you apart as a woman in leadership. Not everyone is going to have the approach of, we're going to have a conversation about this. What do you think could have been done better? How can I support you to make sure that this doesn't happen again? Most of the times when there's workplace conflict, people have the, I would say, thumb down approach where they're just, what did you do? Why'd you do it? Why could you have done something like this? And that's not the way that you want to set yourself apart as a woman in leadership. So I hope that these tips have been helpful to you. I'm going to recap them really quickly for those of you who just joined. Thank you so much for joining. And I want to hear from you. What are some workplace conflicts that you have experienced? How did it go? What are some insights or questions that you have for me that I can answer for you? I'm here to support you as a woman in leadership as it relates to enhancing your confidence, your executive presence, and then also being able to help you develop elite communication skills. And I do have several programs to help you do that. I have a confidence game plan, a communication skills audit. And if you're not quite sure what you need, then just sign up for a strategy session and we'll chat. We'll talk about where you are in your career, how I can help you advance in your career with speaking better in your interviews or etc. So, as a recap, the strategies that you need to incorporate into your schedule, into your situations at work to handle workplace conflict like a pro as a woman in leadership are the following. Number one, you need to develop your executive presence immediately. If you have not developed it, then definitely reach out to me so we can talk about developing your executive presence. I have some videos here on YouTube that will help you to develop your executive presence. I will put them in the description below after we finish up with the live. Second will be to observe and assess the situation. Is this a one time occurrence or is this something that happens all the time? Three, you'll need to determine when you need to have this conversation. Do you need to have it right now, or is it something that can wait just for a little bit and have it when the tensions have settled and the environment is not so tense? And fourth and finally is to have that conversation, have that dialogue, and be as respectful and be as professional as you can be when you're discussing workplace conflict with anyone. So, do you all have any questions? Have you had any scenarios come up where you've had workplace conflict that you want to talk about, or you're a woman in leadership and you're kind of dealing with how you can have these conversations? Because it can be kind of hard sometimes. It can be a little bit challenging in terms of managing workplace conflict. So, if you have any questions, let me know. I'll be happy to stay on here for just a few moments. I'll talk briefly about a couple of things that are going on right now as it relates to enhancing confidence for women. I have a coaching program called the Confidence Game Plan. It's a really great program to help women in leadership be able to advance and really elevate their skills. The program itself focuses in on confidence because I found that as women in leadership, sometimes we're not as confident as we need to be. And oftentimes it may be something that we've dealt with in the past that has impacted our confidence or some challenges that we're currently facing right now that is not allowing us to really present our very best selves. So it focuses on confidence. There's a module on that. The second module focuses on being able to speak in public. Public speaking is a critical skill for you to have as a woman in leadership. And so you want to be able to master that if you are trying to elevate yourself as a woman in leadership in your profession, in your career. If you're trying to advance in your career, you need to know how to speak to people. And you don't have to necessarily master advanced techniques. If you need some advanced speaking techniques, whenever there's challenging situations that come up, I can definitely help you with that. But it provides you with the basic fundamental insights that you need to have as a speaker. So just basic public speaking. And then, excuse me, the third module focuses in on your executive presence. These are really the pillars that any woman in leadership needs to have to be able to advance in their careers, advance in their businesses, and really present the best version of themselves. So I don't see any questions. If you have any questions for me, let me know. If you're watching the replay of this, feel free to leave a comment. I definitely will engage with you and let you know how I can help you or talk to you a bit more about the situations that you have had in the past as it relates to workplace conflict. Because I've dealt with them. I've dealt with them. I've dealt with the very, I would say, excuse me, friendly and the very unfriendly situations. And I've been able to navigate all of those with ease, but it takes a bit of time and guidance to learn how to do that. So if you have any questions, let me know. I'm here to support you on your journey. Leave them in the comments below. Feel free to like this video, share it to any other women in leadership that may need some support. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all in the next video. Bye for now.